Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode of the Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there is John. Hi, John.
Hello, Tyler.
Guys, this week, in the age of the great exposure of the Liver King, we want to talk to you about the fact that everybody lies. Everybody lies in the fitness industry. Everybody lies. All gym owners lie. Gym owners lie to us. Your clients lie to you. How do you see through a lot of the bullshit? How do you help your clients see through a lot of the bullshit in a business that is not necessarily as science and help based as you would think? Everybody's lying about everything all the way across the board, from how good your gym is doing to what your clients really want to what you think you are as a coach, as a gym owner. All of these things, most of them probably aren't true. So we're gonna help you sift through the bullshit. Before we get started, make sure you go to the join the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. That link is in our description. You can find that there. Also, make sure you follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. Follow me at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFFIN Stone. And follow John. How can they find you, John?
On Instagram at jbanksfl.
All right, guys. First off, I opened it because it was just a funny clickbait, but the Liver King thing, guys, if you were ever like,
Absolutely.
you know what, I think this guy might be just really onto something here. Yeah, he's on something. I'll tell you that for sure. But in all seriousness, I don't care about that at all. It didn't bother me. I think DJ Murakami had mentioned on his thing the other day, it was like, if you're bothered by this, were you bothered by the fact that when you figured out pro wrestling was fake?
Yeah.
And it's pretty true. Like, you see, there's a lot of people claiming whatever on the internet that you just know very right away. Like, you just know that's not true. A guy that looks like that is not just eating raw meat. That's silly. And what's funny is, like, 2 days before all of the emails surfaced from this guy, I was seeing somebody come on who's like an expert. He's like, but it really is possible for him to look like this naturally because, he does eat more organ meat than probably 10 people who eat more organ meat. And, he's rich, so he's got a lot of time and he trains 2-3 hours a day. I'm like, okay, you're still wrong, you fucking idiot. And I won't go too far into the thing. There's a piece where I always tell, like, the first drug test everyone has to pass is the eye test. Okay. Yeah. And that's the thing people don't get. Even if you're like getting into like a sport, you go to like a drug tested powerlifting meet. The first drug test you pass is the eye test. And if you don't pass the eye test, you're going to get selected, quote, randomly. Yeah. And it's really, really funny. But John and I have been talking about this for a while, that, this industry is really not based on truth. Not only you want to be honest with your clients, you want this thing, but in the communications, your clients lie to you. Mm-hmm. And gym owners, y'all lie to everybody. You'll lie to anyone. Gym owners lie about their business more than almost any other business I've ever heard in my life. I've been in many businesses, and I'll hear gym owners that'll just really skirt around the truth a lot about how things are going and what their prospects are, or what, and none of it is accurate. We work with gym owners all the time. But one of the things I think that's really important for you to know when you're talking, especially as a gym owner, we're busting your balls here, but as a gym owner, when you're talking to clients, they're lying to you too. And when you're coaching people, they're probably lying to you as well. And getting to the point where someone's willing to be like really honest with you and honest with themselves, that's where you can kind of start to open some doors and really make changes. John, you and I, there's gym owners that we can't help because they won't fucking live in reality with what's going on. It's like, dude, nobody's coming to you for this service. It's not what it is. Well, but I love it. Great. But that's not what they're coming to you for. Trust me. You're not perceived as this expert externally. What are people really seeking you for? And then you can become the other thing, but you're not this now. And if you're not an expert, can you just help people? People trying to basically pump up their ego and portraying, I'm an expert on this thing and I'm an expert on that. Nobody cares. I've never hired a coach because I thought they knew the most. It was really, what can they help me do? Where am I? Do they understand where I am right now and where I want to move through to? And that's a piece that the ego and unwilling to admit really where you are in the hierarchy of things can really screw you over. And as a gym owner or coach, you're working with clients and they come in and they're telling you, no, I eat pretty good. It's like, yeah. It's just like the skinny guy who tells me they eat a lot. It's like, no, you don't. And so in all of these things, there's a piece where it's like you need to get on some sort of common ground. There needs to be some common denominators when you're working with people. And my biggest thing that I've learned as coaches is like, man, in nutrition, Jesus Christ. If I don't, I hate making people meticulously track their food. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily the healthiest way to do it. I think it's a required component in the beginning for people to kind of get calibrated and figure out, what I need to know what they're actually doing before they can just kind of tell me that everything's okay. Because when most people want to come and talk to you about nutrition help and I need to lose weight, what they really want you to do is tell them that everything that they're doing right now is just going to all of a sudden start giving them different results. That's what they want. That's what everybody wants. And they say they want a plan. They say they want a complete plan that they can just turn themselves over to, and they'll do that until they don't want to do that anymore. And that's not really what they want. And so nutrition coaching is one of the things, is I think as a gym owner, as a coach, if you've ever worked in that space, you'll understand very quickly how much that applies to business coaching, business development. If your business isn't growing the way you want it to grow, can you really take an honest look at yourself, the things you're doing, the inputs you're putting into the system, the way you're handling your business, and where you're putting your time? And can you say honestly and go, oh shucks, why am I not growing? Because most gym owners, y'all coach, you sit on ass, you take afternoon naps. The afternoon nap is the gym owner's thing, right? You got to be up in the morning, you got to be there late. And so most are not working as hard as they lead people to believe. And I'm here to call you out on that because I used to do it too. Maybe all these things I'm saying is just a projection, which is very likely. It's the Gary V in me, which is like all the things I'm calling out. It's like, I just see it takes one to know one. But I think it's really true. And with the nutrition coaching, you're sitting there and someone's just lying to you. Because I've had clients that say, I'm following the calories and the protein thing that you gave me very meticulously, and I'm just not dropping any weight. They're like, can I add a fourth workout a week with you? I'm like, no. How many calories is that going to burn? Like, come the fuck on. Like, fix the food thing, dude. And I just know they're not doing it. And there's nothing worse. This as a coach. Everybody knows this as a coach, when you're telling someone to do something and you just know they're not doing it, and then they want to blame you for the lack of results. That's frustrating. Okay. And in your business, if you're not getting the results, and you can tell yourself and you can tell everyone around you that you're just really working hard ain't the fucking ticket. You got to be doing the right stuff here.
And in the beginning, it's really hard where if you go right at someone, it becomes a he said, she said, he said, he said scenario. Yep. And when I worked in military school, the big thing was all kids lie. So if you work off of that given, that standard, that every single person that interacted with us was lying to us, no matter what was said, it then was great. They're lying to you. You trust what they say, but you then verify that. And that's an old, I think it's either Reagan or like a Gorbachev quote, which is like trust but verify. But it's like got used all the time. But it's the idea of trust but verify. And this is where you can really carefully go around having to go right at it and have you be the bad guy, to where using the nutrition example, it's so easy to be like, you know what? I hear what you're saying. Like, you don't even have to argue with them. It's, oh, I'm doing all the things. I'm doing it perfect. I don't know what to do. And it's going to be like, you know what? Great. Let's document exactly what you're eating for the next 3 days. Like, just like you said, once you do that, then they can't hide from it. Yeah. Most of the time. Now they have to really be in a whole nother world and be oblivious to the idea of where they would doctor up like what they're recording.
Yeah, at that point, they really don't want the outcome. You have to truly not want
just be
a desirable outcome to then now when I've put it, I now write it down and they're lying about what you write it down. But still, that even happens. Omission is a thing when it comes to counting food, counting calories, counting weight. People are very forgiving of their own math, and they kind of forget a lot of ice cream. We won't write that down.
And there's an activity that we do with gym owners, and I would recommend anyone do around this time of year as you're getting ready to go into January and start a new year and do all these things, which is that time audit. Because what's the number one thing that we hear from gym owners is that they don't have enough time.
And I have almost never, when we look into it, seen any sort of actual valid limitation on their time. It is a poor prioritization. And not only that, when the time comes to start actually writing it down, I'm not saying, there's some great high performers who really got their shit in order, but like
Yeah.
Listen, if you're killing it, we're probably not for you, right? You know what I'm saying? If your business is pulling you $2-3 million a year out of your gym, and you've got systems operating, and you're an efficient person, and you can see the next move, and you're executing, like you don't need John and I to kind of help sift through a lot of that bullshit to get you to that point. That's not who we're here to work for. But if you're here and you're in a point where you're not getting the outputs that you think you deserve from your gym, we start looking at your inputs. And most people will lie. This is another projection, dramatically about how much time they spend fucking around on their phone every day at work, especially gym owners and coaches. I've had to call people out on this, because we were getting stuff from coaches who were like, I work so much and I can't do it. I don't have any time to do anything. And I'm like, you are the first person to see any Instagram story that I ever post.
Exactly.
Ever. I mean, ever, 24 hours a day, ever. And you're not scrolling on Insta. You don't manage your social media. So you're just wasting time, at the very least, within a couple of minutes every fucking day, all day. Like, trust me. And so when people start lying on those pieces, because on the time audits, people either take a month to get us 1 week worth of their time. Mm-hmm. And usually in that case, it's not even about us calling out. This is the observer's paradox, right, John? Which is things are, once you start to observe them, the data becomes a little bit polluted. Because the moment somebody starts to track their time, just treat it like you're punching in for a time card. I used to have to do this I was doing heating and air. I just have to at least account for what job I was on and what project I was at, or if I was in transit. Like, every hour would kind of need to be tracked. I couldn't just, if I'm going to spend 4 hours on one place, I at least got to write that I was there for 4 hours and I was working on it. It's reasonable to expect. Like, once you're self-employed, people just throw that stuff to the wind and they pay no attention to, like, oh, well, actually, I didn't do shit today. I coached and I hung out and I put out temporary little fires that I could have just, if I wasn't there, everything would have been fine. But the moment you start observing their time, people start to change the way that they work because they're embarrassed, which is, by the way, for me is okay, because if I'm consulting with someone, what I want is for you to become more efficient, for you to waste less time, and for you to realize that you're doing. It's not for you to send me with your hat in your hand this shameful list of how you've been spending your time, so I can slap you on the wrist and tell you you've been, a naughty boy. It's like, no, just, okay, now you see how much time you're leaking or how inefficient you're being. What can we do to fix it? And most people, once they start observing and they start tracking this, knowing they're going to have to turn it into another person, all of a sudden they change what they're doing. And that's all I want, is the change towards more efficient. So I'm not here. I don't care. You don't have to. Some people could write their time audit out and not send it to us. And they've gone to us and gone, yeah, all right, you were right, I'll fix it. I'm like, okay.
And that's usually what we get.
It's usually what we get.
Don't ever get the time audit like truly delivered. Like, we get it a couple days where we.
And it's usually a little disingenuous too. I can usually see right through it. Okay, buddy. Yeah, all the time. So the time audit stuff that I recommend you just do it for yourself. If you have a partner that's working with your business, do it for each other. Like, where can we find ways to make, if you really give a shit, or are you just a fucking fitnesser who now wants to make fitnessing your kind of like job? And if you just want to have a job that you don't work for somebody else, great. But if you're trying to grow this thing, like, I don't know what to tell you other than it should be important enough for you to change what you're doing on the day to day.
Well, and there's a bigger problem here. So, and we've talked about this before, where it's, if you're lying, it's one thing. But the issue is that if you're like, no, I don't have time, and every member of my gym stays for 3 years, so my retention is fine, and I close 90% of all of my sales, and I get 40 leads per month, and I've been doing marketing, and I'm a techie person, and all these pieces, then what ends up happening is that we say, oh, well, if we take that all at face value, and we don't look at it, we don't try and parse that apart and really zoom in and say, like, are you sure what you're saying is true? Because if it's true,
then we can't help you.
Well, and that means, like, the solution to whatever problems you have are, way more complicated. And just 9 times out of 10, it's a little bit like the dirty filter for you.
This is a piece, you need to know. They talk about this. This is John and I dealing with clients that we know who are lying to us, and you as a coach deal with clients and members who are lying to you and wanting an outcome. And I would get service calls in the summers here. If your filter's dirty on your air conditioning, what's going to happen is the air's not going to flow. It's going to freeze up solid. It's going to be hot in your fucking house. Okay. The solution to that really is just let the fan run, change your filter, wait a little bit, and then turn it back on. That's a very simple solution. The amount of people who would panic and call when it's hot, especially when it's really hot here, they need somebody there right away. I get there and I go, oh, there's a brand new filter in this thing. It's like they just didn't wait long enough before or whatever. And it's like, there's a brand new filter in this thing. Like, was the filter dirty when you changed it? No. And one of the things, by the way, then at that moment, 95% of the time, they're wrong. But then now I got to do more work. Like I have to check a bunch of other stuff because I can't take, if I'm taking you as a human being who's looking me in the eyes, we're both trying to solve the same problem. We're both trying to solve your problem for you and your family. Okay. And you're going to look me in the eyes so that you don't have to shamefully say, yeah, I forgot to change my furnace filter. I just forgot.
Dirty. We're dirty.
It's just, yeah, it's like, no, dude, like I've worked in this business. I don't change my shit till it causes me problems either. And I also know that's wrong. Okay. But like, that's a thing that people do all of the time. But now I have to embark on this entire other problem solving endeavor. It's going to cost you more money. It's going to take more time. I got to go through and check all these other factors because which I don't, by the way, I'm not going to act on the assumption that you're telling me the truth. I kind of have to go through and just see how things are going because otherwise I'm not even though you lied to me. And based on that information, I go through and fucking do everything I can. And it takes forever. And we still settle on, oh, look, that's what the problem was. Now you're going to think I'm lying to you. Right. That's the worst part. Well, I mean, I told you I've changed the filter. It's like, well, okay, then it can't be this. And so it hamstrings the problem solving process. And that's a piece that like people, you guys in your business, you got to understand there's nobody to impress about your business. You shouldn't, you don't talk. Who are you talking to short of someone who's actually trying to help you that you need to be giving these numbers, this information to, or you just, it's that busy trap that entrepreneurs always fall into, or anyone who starts their own business. It's a blue collar mindset. It's really even a white collar mindset where people, I'm just so busy. I'm successful. I'm busy. And I was like, that's
I'm grinding.
That sucks, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like that does not seem like the most effective use of your time. Then if you're having any trouble, you're just so swamped and you can't solve any problems. Like, what are you bragging about here? And do you want me to high five you or do you want me to pity you? Like, what are you trying to do now? What do we need to do next? And back to the time audit. Listen, none of you work as efficiently as you can. Most of you work, gym owners, I would say operate at, I would describe, if I had to put a number, most gym owners operate under 50% efficiency, them in their day, the way they perform. And by the way, that's okay because go look at an office job. Those people operate around 10 to 20, 10, 15, 20% efficiency, literally in like pure hours worked. In the day, they don't. Everything else, the average is way low. And I see gym owners that low as well, who are pretending to fill that other time or being in the gym. We talked about this with Gordon, one of our guys, and to get ready as he's about to open his facility. It's like, okay, now once you get into the gym, you got to understand that being in your gym is just it's not working. That's just because you're in your gym. That's not an efficient use of your time. Because oftentimes just being in your gym, if you're coaching, that's one thing. If you're doing things that got to be done in the gym, that's another thing. But just kind of hanging out and dealing with things as they pop up or come and go, that's not working. That's just wasting your time. That's waiting around for busy work to come. That's sweeping the floors, when somebody who's paid to sweep the floors should be sweeping the floors. Like that is not the best use of your time. You should be detached from that space because you can constantly be getting interrupted, or you need an office with a door on it or something. So you're not being distracted by just the little stuff. Because once you're in your business, man, it's tough to zoom out.
It's not your fault for getting lost in that though, because you're at work. You're literally at work. And the problem is that 9 to 5 business office space mindset is that I'm there, I'm on the clock. And the thing is that don't forget, as an entrepreneur, you get to decide how much money you make per hour. No one's just flat paying you. And so that is definitely those pieces where it's maximize the time that you're there to be making the most amount of money. And that is where that honest assessment of where you are. And that's the folks that we've had that have been the most successful are the ones that they lay it all out on the table.
Yeah.
There's very seldom do we say, like, does our bullshit meter
Mm-hmm.
go off? But
I
then
had,
the folks that go ahead.
yeah. I mean, by the way, it's the only way. And I know this when I work with clients, especially for weight loss. When I work with weight loss clients as a personal trainer, people who come in who want to blow smoke. Oh yeah, you know what? So I started doing keto, and then blah 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 blah, and it's all this shit. And it's like, I know it's not true. Oh yeah, I used to be really strong. It's like, none of these things are valid. I need to know where you're at right now. I need to hear pain. I need to hear all the things that you know, your own shortcomings, because there's no one to blame for this but you. I don't need to hear this laundry list of diagnoses that your doctor gave you that you're using to lean on or to blame for your problems. I don't need to hear any of this. People that come in that are ready to put in the work. I know I fucked up. I need someone with me for this process. Like, those are the people that have the greatest success. And in your business, it's the same exact thing. You got to come and go, fuck, you know what? And by the way, some of you, you're in a position you can't do more. You can't do more even if you spend more time doing some of the other things. You are just in a spot where maybe you don't know what the next move is, or maybe you don't know how to execute some of these other things. So you stay sequestered away in busy work. And that's more or less what it is anyways. You're kind of afraid to start leaning into this uncomfortable territory. But the people that come in and say, just own it, own your failures, own where you're at right now, and say, I need this to be better. You need to really want it. You need to be able to be willing to do whatever these next steps we lay out are. Excuse me. And those are the people that will have incredible success. But we've had stuff where it's like, yeah, we're trying to get new members. And, I put a ton of time into marketing, but we kind of scaled back the marketing a little bit. And I look back and it's like, scaled back and marketing, you've done nothing on social media and we've seen some of these where it's almost 2 years.
Literally.
It's like you've moved into a new location and there's not even a post about your new location. I mean, it's not that you scaled back your marketing. You've never done it. And now you're just trying to tell me, like, listen, I know a thing or two about some things. And it's maddening to me because it's like, now I can't even help you in that regard.
Right.
Because I can't. I know about copywriting. Great. Why does your copy suck? Then why aren't you making more stuff? Why aren't you getting people attracted to you then? Because your copy is good. The most frustrating thing I have when we work with gym owners is they'll say, yeah, but I have this. It's covered. It's good. Okay, give me some stuff. Like, just because the thing is getting done doesn't mean it's getting done well. And if there's a gap in, say, the flow of you getting, whether it's, growth, interest on social media, engagement, lead generation from social media, organic lead generations, paid lead generation, sales closing, you know what I mean? Like internal sales, other revenue tiers that you have. If there's something in there that's not working and I go, what about this? Oh yeah, it's good. It's like, well, fuck. Now I got to go chasing some problem that's probably not the right one, or it's out of sequence because you just don't want to admit that this piece is maybe a deficiency that you have. And it's very frustrating.
And we stay in a pocket. Like, we stay in a very specific niche down pocket of the types of gym owners that we work with and personal trainers that we work with that really are starting to make that leap from that. This is something that they want to be able to become more of this being a profession.
Yeah.
And they're ready to make that jump and make that leap and need a board of directors that are on their side. Because the fact is that for folks that want to scale or want to do big things, like there's people we know in the industry that are going to do great and can do great things and can help you do lots of things. We know copywriters that are that are very expensive to work with. Like, we know ads people. Like, there's so many pieces that we know, and we know them. And we know that part of the sequence so that we know, oh, this is where we fit. We purposely fit here. So when someone comes and says, well, I want to do some work, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and the truth is not there, the lie is just all that's told. It's like, well, then, dude, we literally can't help you because we don't want to. Yeah. Because it's from our perspective, you're actually here. You are fitting right in our wheelhouse. And we think that we can do this, and this with you in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, no, like, I got it all figured out. It's like, then the only solution then is to go over to these folks over here because we've got it all figured out.
And we've talked about this with the sales process. Are you running a sales process? Do you have is your sales, when someone comes in, is how that conversation's going? Is that a thing that you have planned, that you have built, that you know what step 1, what step 2, what step 3 is, what you put in front of them, what you offer them? Are you just such a free-form, brilliant conversationalist that you can connect with any person that walks in the door and close them and make them feel comfortable and optimize the outcomes and give them the opportunity to spend the most money as possible so that everybody wins, they're invested, you're getting paid, they're in a right fit for them that fits their wants? Can you do that every time consistently? Like, and that's just you. And then how do you impart that on the next person and somebody else so that you as a gym owner can detach from that process and still get the same results from your sales team? Is that a thing you're working on? If it's not, then we say, okay, well, you need to have a process. What does this look like? Write this up. And we can always tell whether it's our process or whether it's someone else. And we talked about this in our, thing about giving people options and buying habits in the past, about the offer stack. Excuse me again, I got to sneeze. Sorry about that. But we've talked about that in the past and how I can always tell when you're lying to me. Because I can always tell if you're not offering people personal training. I can always tell if you're not offering people upsells into nutrition. I can always tell based on the outcomes. I can always tell. Just like you can tell if someone comes in and says, yeah, I've been on a diet. I've been working out really hard for the last 3 years and I've just gained 40 pounds of fat. Well, I believe there's probably something wrong with your brilliant diet or your training program, probably both, or the fact that you're not adhering to either probably has more to do with whatever of those systems are or how deluded you are about them. And as a gym owner, how in the hell are we supposed to tune up the money you're making from people come in when you're just lying to us? But yeah, I went through the whole thing. Bullshit. Because I know these numbers, John. We went through the stats. How many people will pick your base? And it's like 20, maybe 30% tops will choose your main membership if that's offered at the bottom of the stack. If you have at least 3 items above there, 70% of the people, 70 to 80% will choose further up that ladder. Meaning 80% of the people, 70 to 80% will spend more money with you if you just give them the opportunity to. Don't even sell them. Don't be pushy. Don't say, no, this is the thing you need. That's not it. Hey, here's your choices. What do you think? We also have the base membership here in the bottom too, if that's all you're interested in. Take a look at what do you think? And you can just roll with that. And that will, like I said, 2/3, 3/4 of your people will spend more money than anyone you're closing right now. And that matters. But when a gym owner says, well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying, nobody's buying it. No, you're not trying. You're not doing it. You're just not doing it. You're not doing it. I know. I can see it. The numbers don't lie. The system doesn't lie. Like, it's very frustrating. So then what do you do in that case? Well, I'm going to not bother with this aspect of your situation anymore. Just like when a client's lying to you about what they're eating and they start turning in, they start omitting the fact that they're having ice cream or 16 beers a week. And they just can't understand why they're not losing weight and they're blaming your plan. Mm-hmm. Well, we've all been there too, by the way. And you just know they're lying about what they're saying or they're omitting things that they're putting in when they are tracking their calories or tracking their intake. What can you do? Do you have to have that hard conversation? You have to look to someone who's paying me money. I got to look them in the eye as a man. And I got to say, you are fucking lying about this. Mm-hmm. Okay. You are the problem. And that's a tough thing as a professional. This is the difference. If it's it's a friend, one of those things, I don't have a problem with that. As a professional, it's very difficult because if you go on the assumption that someone's lying to you and you call them out on it, it's very difficult because in a professional relationship, all those things are quotable. You know what I mean? Every one of those things is, well, yeah, so his nutrition plan wasn't working. And then he just said it was my fault. But like all that stuff starts getting twisted into something a little bit different. So you got to be careful when you are in a business calling somebody out for lying to you directly. And how are you going to prove it? Can you prove it? It sucks. So it puts you in such a terrible spot as a coach. You as a gym owner should know then that about your business for the results to be the way you want them to be, you got to exist and communicate about reality. 100%. Unless it's about a cultural thing and you don't have to communicate like that fully with your employees and your membership base. If there's trouble with the business, if there's problems with the business, I'm okay with you delivering a unified front to your staff because you don't want them to quit because they think the ship is sinking. You don't want your members to think about jumping ship because they see that there's problems with the business. So I'm okay with outwardly to all of them. Things are great. Yep, I'm so busy, but things are good. Yep, everything's fine. That's fine. But when people are actually trying to help you solve the problems, right, and you're lying, you're only fucking yourself over. Because guys like John and I will go, okay, and we'll know you're fucking lying, and we'll push the issue a couple of times, and then from then on, we just move on from that problem. which means that's an issue that you are choosing to leave unaddressed in your business. And you do that too many times, your business does not come out the other side.
Oh, well then, and ultimately for us, we just fire you. Like we stop working with you. Like it's only like yeah, it's kind of like the 3-strike rule. But I found that as we have worked with folks over the years and worked with people, you're not, as long as you're working from the standard that everyone's lying, right? You're never aghast. You're never shocked. It just is, oh no, like it's the standard here is that they're not telling the truth. So when they are telling the truth, that's actually the pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
So because you're always working from the stance of they're not telling the truth, what you do next is what's really important. And a lot of times it's just preemptively anticipating the lie. So if you have, because if the nutritional client that you've described says they've done all the things, they keep getting weight, it's like, then honestly, you need to go to a doctor because you probably have a tumor somewhere attached to your endocrine system and you're going to
yeah, you got a tapeworm, buddy. What's going on here?
Like something is happening. And so and this is where a lot of times I like what I've seen when people are like, if you have somebody that comes in, they're a nutritional client and you want them to track like macros and things like that, those first couple of weeks to get themselves acclimated, to where you oftentimes will see like a coach will want like, hey, send me photos of your meals for the first week, right? Send me. And that's where now it's not like, now they're not being scolded because, hey, you're a fucking liar. And 2 weeks in, I know you're lying. So now I need you to start sending me photos. You just do it right out the gate. And now that's part of the standard. And now you feel more confident that at least they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like it's another layer of accountability that gets built in. And that's oftentimes, right, it's what we do when it is the time audit, is that send us your audit for that first week. Send us every single day. I want to see what your day looks like.
And the moment people start skirting that accountability, same thing with coaching nutrition. People start missing some check-ins, or you send some messages, hey, send me this, and they don't do it. Mm-hmm. It's them walking away from their chances of success. That's all it is. And you do need to communicate that in the beginning, because this is the thing. People do come to you in the beginning with an honest concern, usually. Sometimes they're deluded about where they're at and why they're there, but it is an honest concern and an honest want. Usually, I want to lose the weight, and what they don't want to do is admit that it's their fault. Okay. And you as a gym owner, you don't want to admit that it's fucking your fault that you're in this situation, that right now you're ill-equipped for skills. You're managing your time very, very poorly. Your ego is tied up into some shit that's not allowing you to solve problems very accurately. And you're deluded in the way you're communicating with clients. And there's just a lot of fucking things that come down the pipe when you're a gym owner that, like, it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't stop at anyone else, whether it is your fault or not. You may be doing a great job at this, but if your business isn't performing, the buck stops here, dude. So I don't know what to tell you.
It's the same trap that you've called out time and time again, that it's a client that pays for nutrition, pays for personal training, pays for whatever, that the dopamine hit that they get for having paid to solve the problem oftentimes can be all that was needed. Yep. They just needed to have paid for it. We've ran into this with folks that have worked with us that have paid us a lot of money and then don't ever follow through.
Don't do anything.
It's super confusing. Why would you have paid it? It's like, oh, you paid, therefore you think that was,
you checked that box. That is the investment.
And the gym owners, it's the same thing, which is you've opened your gym, you've checked that box. I have opened the gym, I'm in my gym, I have all these things. So that box is being checked for you. And it's like, oh no, there's more to this. That's actually when the game begins. And we're artificially kind of having that same thing. So being able to identify what the traps that our clients will fall into, we can avoid the same traps we will fall into as gym owners and personal trainers in our own businesses.
One of the great things we have is, it's one of my favorite projects we're working with right now, is we got a guy in the Gear Academy who's launching his gym soon. He's moving into his physical location. He's been coaching people one-on-one in small groups out in the space, but he's in this. He's now got his own facility. They open it up. We're running clients in there in the next week or two here, once they get everything legally set up. And that project is great because there is no pre-existing bullshit. There is no pre-existing system that's tying up time. It is really, all right, what it is. It's a true zoomed out look at things that you're able to get right away. And for those of you listening, if you're thinking about becoming, either getting into taking your personal training coaching that you're doing more seriously, really turning it into a real profession, there's things we can do to help you in the Gear Academy. If you're looking to move into a physical location, really open a gym, whether it's group fitness, personal training studio, whatever that is, man, that is the time to solve problems. It is not the time. It's very easy to get caught up in, and I've talked about this before, when you get into opening a business, is that all the problems you got to solve are these little superficial things that are in the way of you and having lights on and a sign and people being able to walk in. That kind of is the problem solving that you do before you get to take your big first deep breath as a gym owner and go, oh, I've made it. And it's like, no, you just made yourself a bed. Now you got to sleep in it.
A big,
and so
expensive bed,
big shitty bed here. And so you know what I mean? Like this thing is not going to give you much comfort until you start solving all these other problems that you have ignored, because we start as a bootstrapped business. And that's the businesses I kind of prefer to work with, a bootstrap business, because that growth matters. But if that's the way you're doing it, that's how people start. That's how people get familiar with that busy trap. And so people get familiar with like, yep. So I came in and I put the floors down and I did this and I did this and I wiped things off and I'm getting ready for this and I'm cleaning and I'm changing the lights and I'm doing, you're doing all this stuff, and none of it is terribly important in the grand scheme of things, but it's work, and it is work that needs to be done. And we find ourselves being distracted by that type of work and that type of just mindless putting in time, box checking shit. And it's a bad habit to get into, that then when you're not operating the business, you fall back on this petty little I'm in the gym tasks. Like you're just putting in time. It's like, motherfucker, you're not hourly. So start being efficient. And go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's the biggest, like in that mindset, it's you don't know what you don't know. And that oftentimes is where we are running into working with folks, is that it's the issues that we have seen from having worked with so many people are typically the issues that you haven't even considered yet, because you don't know that they're a problem. And the way, just like you said, being able to work with someone that's like bootstrapping, getting started where the ground floor allows us to be able to now, like we just start. The foundation is built with these things, and now you don't have to kind of rebuild or build back into it.
And in everything you do, every if your business is operational, it's not sinking. Every task that needs to get done is getting done. Truthfully, right now it is. It just is the bare minimum. Some of them are costing you money, time, members, opportunity, reputation, whatever, but they're all getting done at some level of quality, however poor, however excellent. It's getting done. And in a business, what you need to do is constantly sit back and triage and go, all right, which things do I need to level up right now? Which one? And maybe I can't take it from 1 to 10. I can take it from 1 to 5 very quickly. And this is to give you a perfect example. We were talking with our guy who's opening up. And this is a piece, if you've been open for a while, you probably understand this concept. But me, when I opened my gym, I didn't get this, is that when I'm at my gym, I'm never going to be able to do any work. I'm hardly even going to be able to work out at my own gym. Why? Because if I got a decent enough location and people are interested in us, you know what? People are going to stop in. Some of them aren't even interested in joining. They're going to come in and go, this used to be a shoe store. And they'll just want to give you the old Midwest chat for a while. And that's wonderful, except, I coach a bunch and I work a bunch and I'm here. This is the 90 minutes that I have set aside for me to work out. And I'm in here by myself. And now I have to stop and I have to humor this person. Or even worse, if it's a sales opportunity. You don't let them walk out the door. You got to have that conversation, and it's tough. and I didn't realize that how many opportunities I was going to miss out on, or how many bad first impressions I was going to have, because you never get the opportunity to make a better first impression. Right. There's no second first impressions. So if you fuck that up, if you're rude, or even worse, what if you're in there actually working? You're working with a client, or you're coaching a group class. Right? Unless you got somebody manning your front desk all the time, like how do you handle that when people walk in the door? Do you sink away and hide and just hope that they ignore? I've seen coaches do this all the time. They just can't bring themselves to going and having a sales conversation, can't bring themselves to detach from the group and just assertively say, hey, I'm really busy. Can I get some contact? They don't want to do any of this. So just kind of ignore the person until they walk away. That's like getting walked out on in a restaurant. That's bad. That is bad service. Okay. And I've seen that happen a bunch too. But there's little things that you can do to make sure you know that that's going to be a problem until you have the staffing, right? Having staffing, somebody there to manage that at all times. That's your level 10 solution to that, right? Well, you don't have the money, you don't have time, you don't have the right person, you don't have the interest. It's just now is not the time for that. Can we get a level 3, level 4, level 5 solution to that? And that problem may be as simple as, let me get a QR code on the door for when the door is closed. And that QR code needs to I still need to say, hey, if we're not here, scan this for more information and to contact us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, right? And then you should be able to contact anyone within an hour, always, just with a quick response. Or you can automate that if you need to as well.
Absolutely.
That's step one. You can also have that same QR code on the back of your business card that you leave up at your front desk, so that if you are coaching somebody or in the middle of something, you come and say, hey, this is what we developed when I was talking. If I was with another client, I didn't want to still be rude and say, oh, hey, I'm busy, right? So what you do is, the thing is, you lay out your professionalism in this interaction. And I would come in and I would say, hey, I'm working with a client right now. I don't want to be disrespectful to the time that they've paid for, but I can contact you as soon as I'm done. Here's my business card here. Just go to that QR code or shoot me an email. You can text me, whatever you want, and I'll get back to you right away. We'll set up a time where I can give you my time, my full attention. Off you go, shake hands. My name's Tyler. Thanks for stopping in. And boom, and you can still wrap them up. They're still impressed by you professionally. They're not turned off. They didn't feel like they walked in and got, kind of just ignored or got shorted for time. They feel heard, they feel seen. And that's a simple thing. And for us, if you're just about to open a gym, you maybe don't realize that you're going to be useless to a person who walks in the door most of the time, because you should hopefully be busy doing something that matters or not being in the building.
It's a simple solution because we've learned from my mistakes. We've learned from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And we've also seen gym owners that have been gym owners for 6, 7, 8 years that are making the exact same mistakes.
Yeah.
So this allows us to be able to now work with our guy that's opening up his new spot. And this is not going to be a mistake that he makes from the very beginning. And that is a simple solution that's learned from doing things the hard way, so you don't have to.
Yeah, our MMA gym, been open for about a year and a half. We saw, when we solved that problem, the walk-in problem and people not being able to get dealt with, last week.
Right.
Last week, QR codes got put on the doors. Last week, business cards got there. So that, again, as a solopreneur, you're working for yourself. You're coaching a group. You have an hour. You have all their attention. You can't stop and give someone 15 minutes. Even worse is, sometimes it's difficult to manage if someone has an issue with payment or needs something sorted out. If they come in during class, you got to tell them to kind of fuck off, right? It's the truth, even if they're a member. So you got to understand that, like, where are you going to be when people are coming for you, and how do you make sure that doesn't cost you opportunities? How do you make sure that doesn't cost you the opportunity to make a good first impression? Because even if you can't deal with them right away, which in a perfect world, yeah, you'd be able to, but we don't live in a perfect world. So how can we make sure that this works out? And those are the types of things, like that level of being honest about things. So now this is a little problem that you can move forward, right? And if you're having trouble attracting leads, we can address the 15 different factors involved in lead generation. And it can't be like, I do social media, I'm awesome. Okay. Then I guess we'll move on from that.
And that's obviously not a solution then.
Then I guess, yeah. So whatever, I guess that's it at level 10. I won't try to level up that area at all, even though I can look at it and say it sucks. So I think that's important. So guys, as much as you want to outwardly put that things are going great, that you're awesome, that everything is wonderful, everything, you got everything figured out, tell your clients that if you want to. You can tell your employees that if you want to, but do not be telling people that are here trying to help you that, because it's just gonna slow the process. You're only hurting yourself, and everyone knows you're lying. And it's important because you're going to look the same way as your client who comes in and wants to lose weight and is lying about everything that they've been doing these last few years, because it's just true. You know it. You've been in those situations. You had those conversations. It's the worst. So that was my last cough for this episode, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. Make sure you join the Facebook group. That is the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. We start rolling out. We're going to have a big upcoming challenge coming up. We're going to help you kind of be able to assess some things in your business on your own. You're going to be able to walk through them step by step. We'll guide you through this whole process, from everything from identifying some of your best opportunities to make more money, to building your offer stack, to learning how to sell. And we're going to roll this through. This is probably going to be free for you guys if you're in the Facebook group. If you're not, tough shit. You won't even hear about it. You won't even get the opportunity. So get in the Facebook group. Link is in the description. Follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram, and follow me on Instagram at Tyler F. Stone. That's Tyler EFF Stone. And John?
At JBanksFL.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week.